Mei Zhao has represented the underrepresented history of Chinese market gardens along Greendale Creek in Curl Curl, right down to Curl Curl Lagoon. The market garden was located at the corner of Abbott Road and Abbott Road, opposite where Manly Selective High School is today. Here, during the 1930s, Cheung Lee and his Chinese workers lived and worked on the market gardens. Their house was a tin humpy with hessian doors and kerosene lamps. Markets like these dominated the production and distribution of vegetables in New South Wales from the 1880s to the 1930s. Zhao's conscious material choices map this history using acrylic, pigment, and concrete on hessian, stretched on wooden frames. So Mai, your practice of mapping Chinese market gardens has taken you all over New South Wales, from La Perouse to Neandra to Edalong to Moot, Wagga Wagga, usually along waterways. Every time I see you approach a location, you approach the work a little bit differently. So how did you approach the Curl Curl market gardens differently this time around?
For Curl Curl Lagoon Chinese market garden, at first I thought that is like a very hard to find any existing in the landscape. So my approach is start from the archive research through the local history, and then also from the archive, I just based on working on the map. 1944, the aerial shot of the map. Also, and that is my side tone of my whole developed a new work. Also, I read from the archive, and this is a lot of material at that time, the Haitian, and also the Haitian from La Perouse, the people using the Chinese or all the early migrants, or the people had no houses or whatever. They used the Haitian, built it for the accommodation, that built small houses. But the house, the way they use the Haitian is not just using the Haitian or Haitian bag. They coated it with a lemon wash. So I figured out the lemon wash actually is maybe just the early version of the cement. So they're using something to maybe just mud or concrete to coat the Haitian. So
and harden it, yeah.
Yeah, the harder than the block, the wind and the cold. Yeah, that's the.
And I find that really interesting because a lot of where the market gardens used to be now are also concreted over. So all the netball courts and areas over there.
Yeah.
But in your practice, you also have titled these works Garden C number 1, Garden C number 2. That's also from the archives as well, because if I recall, Michelle Richmond, she gave you a lot of information related to Curl Curl for this exhibition.
Yeah, I visited, had a meeting with Michelle to find from her about the exact location of the Chinese market garden. Actually, then found
it was a bit by chance as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we just stumbled into her, and she happened to have done a paper.
Yeah, and then she just had a paper, and I just want to ask her where this come from, and she showed me all of her research, all the cells, and all of her printed out, and I photocopied. Also, she showed me the lot of council record, the council meeting, and then instead of they referenced any name of a Chinese, the name or whoever it is, they always label the Chinese. It's like a garden C. It means something to do with the Chinese garden. So that's why I gave this series work name is the Garden C series.
And I think that's like a nice tie-in to the archival research you do for these projects. So you describe your practice as mapping and a bit of a topographical representation. And it goes into all kinds of archive materials like old maps and flood zones, like you said. I see mapping in your practice as kind of a social one as well, engaging with local councils with these underrepresented traces. So what does it mean to make a map in your practice? And why have they all been located around waterways, like ravinas up near the Snowy Mountains or even here along Greendale Creek?
I started the mapping, this kind of started mapping is back to my study in the nest. And because then that time and I couldn't find any way to where to locate the Chinese is. So the map, the history map is the guide. And also I using the Google map. I think it's the mapping is the way to guide me through like a map. Is to guide me through the landscape, found this location, found the place. But the mapping also, I just found is a way to create my own grid system to visualize this is like an invisible underlaid current landscape. So for example, I make this small painting to deliberately make the small painting, and I really want to make this the wall drawing, the map.
Yeah, and I think the wall drawing is a nice expansion of the project because in these drawings, they're kind of like a very experiential feeling of being in the place because there's references to like the muddy banks and the way you've applied some of the works or like worked into the grooves of the line work and things like that. But this back drawing that you've done is more of a representational version of the map. And there's tons of different ways the waterways have changed over time as well. It used to be this like curving shape of the Greendale Creek that then got flattened out and very controlled by the way that the parklands and stuff kind of are this almost artificial creation in some respects. So yeah, it's interesting to how you've built these works up through mapping. So you look at aerial photographs, but you also like to be in the site itself. And I think one work that really strongly did this was Garden 5, where just here where you've got these like almost like muddy banks of a river. So I feel like for a mapping practice, this one's a little bit more kind of almost like a literal like impressionistic sort of painting almost.
This is pretty much the last bit painting. I was wanted to the mapping actually is about a landscape, and also I found the way of the Chinese landscape painting is different from the Western landscape painting. It's a painting plein air. It is a plein air, but they walking the landscape, they experience the landscape. They create the painting is how they experienced landscape. It's not how you see it.
And it's a complete like sensory thing of like what colors you see, what you walk past as you go through and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think incorporating the material of hessian into it very much adds that experiential sort of notion in the work. So another aspect in this paintings, in comparison to the rich blues and reds of previous works, is these almost pastel bright colors, and these were created through mixing cement into your works. So can you talk a bit about your use of color? Because this is, I think, like a very bright representation of like your previous more darker rich blues and reds and greens that you've previously used.
I want to using a little bit bright colors. I want to focus on this body work. Is how I walking into this landscape. Around here is the bright colors, never to be the same as the map. This is just the black map.
And it's the sunlight hitting the different fields and stuff like that.
So I've been walking here from the busy street down to the ocean. So I just feel this is nothing. I can feel the Chinese live here, but that is the Chinese been embedded. I can't so they're always here. So I want this painting using a little bit of color to between the history and the current, but the concrete always I give you this matte and also make the bright color is like a
it's like a really strong flat surface,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
really, I guess, like if it's the experience of how they
Yeah.
were on the landscape, it's like it kind of just solidifies that presence, I guess, and yeah.
And also I always the painting very fluid, and I always pour in color. The cement like a totally transfer me. I can't pour. I
Yeah.
have to be scratched into the landscape.
But yeah, it's super physical and super
Yeah.
gestural. So language is also used a lot in your practice, and you've got some Chinese characters around the piece embedded in your practice, usually underneath layers of paint, and it kind of like, it sits underneath, usually on the hessian underdrawings of the work. But could you tell me a little bit about your use of language in your practice, particularly the use of the word AH, which reappears almost all over your paintings in some way or another?
The AHR I've been explored how to using this become the main theme of my painting, because the AH is the basically existing throughout Australia. I think the old archive from the council's graveyard list or council rate, and 99% of Chinese probably the first name is Ah, and then they always have like a misspelling the name, and then no one have the properly documented the full name. So then they normally the first name is become their family name, and a lot of them don't have a family name. So when I was in the Charles Sturt University Archive research, I read some like in the council record, they sometimes just called art Chinaman, or AH just become they know this is the art. That's just a quite heartbreaking. But at the same time, every Chinese have a proper name. In the Narendra, I found they had a scribbleboard. Everyone have to write beautifully full name. Everyone have a full name, family. Nothing like the Australia history recorded.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think I want to have this kind of a Chinese. This is embedded that Chinese history, the lost the history, or this piece that history become underlayered of painting. Yeah, that's kind of.
And how did you come about this line of research in your practice? Were you always aware of the market gardens, or did you find out about them later in life?
Because I first live in the Rockdale when I first arrived in Australia, and then 1994, and the Rockdale have two Chinese market garden, and across the Botany Bay they have there's another Chinese market garden.
Yeah, I saw on your map in your thesis there's 3 locations up around that area.
Yeah. And also because when I was young, I also the forced labor myself, so I always interested in the Chinese the like a market garden kind of the garden or vegetable. This is like a farming a landscape. It's different from the normal botanical garden landscape, a beautiful landscape or natural landscape. It's a kind of a labeled landscape.
Yeah.
And then you got to have a lot of I just found it's related. I had a more feel to this kind of a landscape. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Okay, I've got one more question for you, and that's you've got this incredible solo show that's been in the works for about a year and a half now, all around regional New South Wales, up near the Snowy Mountain area, and it's all around the Ravenna area of that. So you've got a whole bunch of different approaches you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about your upcoming show in Wagga Wagga?
Oh yeah, that's just, I'm so excited to offer the opportunity to have my first major solo show in the regional gallery. It's an incredible experience. The project started from my research started from the January last year. I got the research grant from the Creative New South Wales. So I've been travel to the riverina region from Wagga, Narendra, Adlong, and Tumut. And then I developed the work, and then I applied for the exhibition. They gave me this chance. This is wonderful. And I did, in July, I spent 10 days in the Narendra to do the landscape study, just to make a painting in the river, along the Marubeni River. In the riverina region, I basically just along the Marubeni River. This is like a big river throughout the region.
And it floods and it dries up, and there's different ways the water moves as well throughout the year, right?
Yeah, I've been using the Google Map, and also the local flood diagram to guide me through. They're always on the riverbank, always on the flood zone, but also they are beautiful landscape. And also I finished the residency in the Wagga Gallery last month, which also is beautiful.
So you're finishing everything up and getting it ready for that big show?
Yeah, I'm just making painting in the processing to develop work. So my work will be plein air painting, and some painting, some installation, some drawing.
That's going to be fun. Thank you so much, Mei.
Thank you.